inside of me, but
it's like a mutant X-Men power that comes
yeah. I can just say no.
You just
I don't do this. I don't do a
gonna
rap.
ask you to rap a lot, and then everything comes out.
Yeah. This is my superpower.
It is a superpower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to rap.
Silent rap.
He's a not rapper.
Okay, got a microphone for next question.
Oh, got a long cable.
We've got a long cable. There you go, sir.
Me first?
Yeah.
Okay. I think. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I think this question is more for Frank regarding your sense of identity. So now, at this point, would you be saying you're German or you're Korean or you're something else?
Good question. I always say, and this might sound cheesy too, that my head is German, but my heart is Korean. I think this is the best way I can describe it, because, of course, I'm more German than Korean, I think. Because I was born here, I speak the language, I have the mindset of someone who lived in Germany, but I mean, I look the way I look, so people think of me as an Asian guy. So I cannot, and my parents are both Korean. I grew up in a Korean household, so I think I'm more Korean than I know, but yeah, so I would say I'm both, but on different aspects of my being.
And I would add to that too, which is that I was asked this question all the time as a child. I was born in China, went to Canada when I was 6, and spent most of my adult life in Canada. And if I had known that there is not one answer to this question, I would have said there's not one answer to this question. But it was like a false binary. Are you Chinese or are you Canadian? And so I felt like I had to choose. So at that time, just like you, I was brought up in Canada. So I said, well, I'm Canadian. And now, having traveled to a lot of different countries and now living in Germany for, this is my 8th year in Germany, crazy, there is now this awareness that we can be multiple things at the same time. And thus this term third culture. Third culturalism refers to this experience of coming from one culture of origin, but having moved and absorbed cultures from different places, so much so that you can't really say that we're only one thing. Maybe that one thing comes out more in certain contexts. So if I'm in a Chinese restaurant, I'm going to be a bit more Chinese. I'm going to speak Chinese to the waiter. But if I'm in the backwoods of Quebec, where I did my studies, I'm not going to play up necessarily my Asianness. You know, I'm going to speak French, and I'm going to be as Canadian as possible. And here in Germany, it's interesting. Like I've noticed that because the discussion about ethnicities and transculturalism hasn't been as developed in Germany as it has been in North America, that I feel a lot more Asian in Germany than I did in Canada because people point it out to me more. Next question. Can you pass the mic over?
You also have a question?
Yeah, she does.
Hi, Sen and Frank.
Hi.
Okay, now I'm on. First of all, I just want to say thank you for doing the work that you're doing today. I've said this to you, Sen, personally, and I've seen it in our friend group and just everyone who's listening to the podcast. It's we're kind of rootless and searching for a new sense of our identity, and I've just found myself and other people around me just finding a new sense of belonging in themselves after having that space to just speak about our nuanced experience of what it's like to be Asian or from 2 or more places. And Frank, similarly, very curious to hear your podcast because it's the kind of, it's so different. No, I'm just talking about, I'll finish soon. Canada seems to be more kind of oh, everyone's Canadian and there's a lot of diversity there, but we'll just kind of, everyone's under the roof of Canada, while German is kind of binary, you're German, white German, or you're just not German at all. And so a question that's emerged for me is living here in Berlin, what would you like to see, both of you can answer this, for Germany to kind of embrace the diversity here more? What would that look like to you?
Great question.
I mean, first of all, you're right. The North American experience is more like, you American, or you Canada, yeah, whatever. And here it's more like, okay, so you don't look white, you don't look German, where are you from, where are you actually from? And I mean, I don't really get it why they can't embrace it. I don't know why there is so much resistance against it, and still resistance against it. So, I mean, to answer the question, it's just, for me, it would be just, don't try to, don't try to judge the way you look so much in terms of, okay, so you look Asian, so you must be from Asia. So this is an old concept. If you were in the 60s, maybe, you know, I haven't seen a black person or an Asian person going crazy, where are you from? Yeah, but now, I mean, it's 2021, and I mean, still people are like, wow, your name is Frank and you are an Asian guy, it's so funny. And I was like, well, where do you live? I mean, I know Asian people who are Peter and Paul and Hans and Franz and whatever, so I mean, do you watch TV? Do you watch Netflix? Do you, I'm still confused about this concept of, okay, this is Asia, this is Africa, and this is Europe, this is white, this is black. So, and the funny part is also that Germans just realized, I think, maybe 1 or 2 years ago, that they are white. No? Because, I mean, really, it's if you asked some German guy, maybe in the 50s or 60s, are you white? Then he would maybe say, I don't know. Yeah, I'm white, but I don't consider myself white, because on contrary to North America, you know, you have different ethnicities. You have Caucasian and you have white, black and white. And here in Germany, we just have black and Asians and Latinos and Turkish, but white is just plain, just the norm.
Status quo.
Yeah, it's just the norm. We don't talk. We're not white. We're just human beings, and you're black and you're Asian, and that's the point. And they are now getting out of their happy land and like, oh shit, this is not a good feeling if someone calls me white. Yeah, I mean, I am white, but it's not a good feeling, and I resent this. You know, I just like days ago in my basketball club, I had this guy. He's a nice guy, and I said, okay, so you're white, and you know, yeah, but I don't know. I'm not calling myself white. that doesn't feel right. This is okay. What are you then? I mean, so I think first of all they have to acknowledge their own. I'm always saying, people in Germany thought this whole racism game is a game between blacks and Hispanics and Asians. So they're playing this race game and racism game, you know, and we watch it from the stands. He's getting discriminated against. Wow, this bad. And they are thinking they're watching from the stand, but they don't realize they are not in the stand. They're on the field. They are the referee, and they play a major part in this game. But if you say, okay, no, you're playing with us, you are the bad guy, then they're like, I'm not playing, I'm not racist, I'm not in this, I'm just human being, I'm a norm, I'm not. And then you say, no, you are white, and you are on the other team, and they're like, I'm playing? You're refereeing too.
It's very self-referential, you know, you create the game, and therefore you create the rules and the perceptions around it until you realize, okay. And this is the blindness that hopefully will start to dissipate with more conversations like this. And my answer to your question would be, so much starts with education. So much starts at a young age when it comes to representation and seeing people like you in places of influence, seeing people like you who are represented in arts, in positions of status on TV, and with that you can really anchor a lot of your self-perceptions. When I was growing up in Canada, there were no Asian people on TV who were not caricatures. So I learned to base my self-perception of me on a caricature that a Western media channel created. So I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be all of these things, like, you know, the good at math. I was good at math, but I was like, oh, I'm just, you know, okay, fine, I fit that stereotype, but, you know, all these things, right? So when people are exposed from an early age to things that are normal, it carries through for the rest of their lives. It's much harder when you bring these things to people at a later age. So, so I would say, like, with Berlin, with the government of Germany, is like, put people of various backgrounds in places where other people can see them, and really check with them, like, is this the way that you want to be represented? We don't want to do it wrong. There's a difference between tokenism and true representation. Yes. Okay, we have time for one more question.
She had a question.
Oh, okay, sorry. Well, you were facing, Frank, in kindergarten questions, like racism.
Sorry, could you start again?
Oh, from when you were in kindergarten and were facing racism in forms of the Heidnism and Kontrabassung, what kind of racism do you think your parents faced when they were in the 80s? And how do you help them, or do you help them stand up facing racism? Well.
Oh yeah, good question. So in this newspaper article, I had a story that I remembered when I was maybe 5, 6, 7 years old. My brother and I went to a local store. My mother was outside talking to somebody, and my brother had this plastic shovel. And we went in, and then we went out, and the guy from the store said, you stole that. So, and I said, no, we came, we just bought it over there. You know, we just came in and got out. He goes, no, you stole it, you stay here. Until where's your parents, where are your parents? So, and I thought, okay, my mother will come, and she will explain, and then everything will be okay. So she came, she explained. He said, no, he stole that. I don't believe you. So I remember the story really 40 years later now, because it was just a shock to see someone not believing my mother. And I think that I realized in that moment my first maybe real racist encounter. I couldn't, name it like this, but it stayed with me until now. I can picture the whole scenery. So I was just in shock that and I realized he didn't respect her because she didn't speak German as well, as he does. So I told this story in the newspaper, and my mother, we talked about this afterwards, and I said, do you remember this? And she said, yeah. I called the police, and I called, so it was just a whole, and I forgot all the police and all these commotion after it. But I think she wouldn't call it racism, but she felt it. The way she felt the embarrassment and the disrespect is different than just a regular misunderstanding. So, but we never talked about racism, and I think when people come from another country and they got here in the 70s. They didn't know anything about Germany or Europe. They were just glad to be here, and they just blend in. And I think she had a lot of racist encounters, but she thought, okay, they don't know, so I have to show them. And it's a different approach, because now people are telling me, you have to integrate yourself, you have to be this or that. And I'm like, no, I was here. I was always here. I don't have to, I'm not from the outside coming in. I'm just from here. But my parents, I think they're more, they don't know our culture, they don't know us, so we have to show them. And this is their country. And I don't know if my parents, after 50 years of living in Germany, would say that they are German. I don't think so. They would still say I'm Korean, because their roots are in Korea and they lived for first 20 years in Korea. I mean, they lived twice as long in Germany than in their home country, but they would still say, we're Korean, 100%.
So we'll have to wrap it up here. Frank,
All right.
thank you so much for
Thank you.
being here. Thank you so much for coming out and being a part of this discussion, this dialogue. This is just the beginning of the discussion. It doesn't stop here. So take these ideas, carry them forward. I'm going to be around afterwards. Frank, I don't know if you'll be around afterwards. So if you want to have a further chat, then be welcome. Buy a drink at the bar. It's Halbe Fund. And enjoy the rest of your Saturdays. Oh, also, halbekatoffl.de, beyondasian.com. Follow us.